Welcome back to Arkansas Basketball Recap. That show that recaps every Arkansas basketball game, even if it's late. Is it better late than never? I don't know. Maybe it's not better late than never, but we've chose late over never just because we could. So, hey, we had the holidays. We had some anniversaries, New Year's Eve. The schedules just didn't match up. So we're still here to recap Arkansas's 92 to 62 win over Oakland, and maybe talk a little bit about the weekend which things are going to get real as Arkansas travels to Tennessee to start SEC play. Uh, we'll get that one out, I think, pretty quick because Jake and I will happen to be together for that, so we should be able to get that thing out. All right, 92-62, Oakland, Cal revenge game. Looked sketchy at first, man. The Oakland, they had one of those big boys. They had a bully ball guy. They had a dude that was giving us some problems in the first half in the post. I was starting to get worried. I was starting to think like, how many years of eligibility does that guy have left? Because I might need to, get his contact information for the offseason if he hits in the portal because that dude was not afraid. And
Mm.
I think Arkansas took what they take a 3-point lead into halftime and end up winning by 30. And so adjustments were made. Seems like the biggest adjustment was Boogie Flan just said, guys, just let me win this game for us real quick here. Let me just drop 21 in the second half and get this over with.
No, I was gonna say, yeah, that was. It's hard to know. I mean, that guy did play well in the first half. The rest of the Hogs, nobody really played great except for again, there was a few brief moments here and there from
Thero
Thero.
played pretty good in the first half,
He
yeah.
played pretty, yeah, and he played pretty good the whole game. He seemed like he was back. But yeah, the biggest difference is everyone just played a little better in the second half, and Boogie played 21 points better.
Yeah, I just
So
played out of his mind. Yeah.
so yeah.
Yeah, but it was a good game. Apparently, Big Z. I mean, he only played 8 minutes, but apparently he was sick, and so that was on purpose. So I
Mm.
did have questions about that, but I did hear Cal say that he probably shouldn't have played at all. But with Nelly out and short rotation, he said, "Bro, you got to give me like just a little bit." And so he only played 8 minutes, and he didn't do a lot. I mean, he had two rebounds, hit a block. He only took one shot. Like in hindsight, that kind of makes sense. I mean, you're like, oh, that you don't feel good, okay? Because he
Mm.
just um, seemed like he was out there being like, yeah, I'm gonna try to give these other guys a break, but I'm not out here trying to do too much, and didn't. So that's fine. Hopefully he is on the mend. We're gonna need him. We're gonna need Nelly. I need that wrist. Get that wrist in a cryo bionic chamber, something, dude. Like, I'm gonna need you to play on Saturday. I'm gonna need Big C to play on Saturday. I'm gonna need all nine of the dudes that regularly play. I need all nine of those dudes ready to go to play Houston. But we'll get there in a few minutes. I mean, some of the uh, minute breakdowns here, man. I mean, like too, you're like Flan plays 36 minutes, Wagner plays 34 minutes. I mean, those dudes just like don't come off the floor that much.
Hmm. I mean, isn't that kind of one of the Kentucky? Does Cal have a bit of the reputation? I may be making this up and maybe thinking of I can't a
Uh,
different coach, but don't they? Does he have a reputation for overplaying his guys and they're broke down by the end of the season? Is that? I mean, I'm talking about obviously the detractors.
I
Is that
don't
one
know.
of the
I don't know if he.
things that they?
I don't know. I'm not. I don't think so. But I mean, Muss had that reputation. I mean, Muss would get it down to seven, and then
Yeah, and
that was it.
well, and I'm thinking of the guy that used to coach for Thibodeau for the Bulls and and then for the Knicks, where they'd say like, he's not doing the resting your star players every other game or whatever. And when it comes to the end, he's got guys with, like you said, wrist fractures and ankle for like twists and bad knees and bad backs, and everyone's hobbling trying to get the playoffs. I don't know that, but I know I mean, we're gonna just have to hope these guys hold together because we need everybody, and any injury is not devastating, but it's definitely, I mean, especially in the big guys. Like we are going to have a hard time in the SEC if we don't have all three of those guys rotating in and performing, at least a pretty good service. So this sports season, unless you're just Alabama from, 5 or 6 years ago football, where you have the best player in the country as your third string backup, most teams, it is going to be, I think there's a lot of teams in the whole country right now that are very good, and a lot of it's going to come down to a little bit of luck and a little bit of good fortune. And when you go up for those rebounds and you're being aggressive, whether or not someone sticks their foot under your leg or not, you know what I mean? So,
Yeah, I suppose maybe if you're just talking about odds, I guess if you're gonna have injuries, which every team does, better to get them out of the way. And so it's like, well, maybe we had ours. We can get through this thing. Maybe it's better to be dealing with injuries early, which Arkansas was. With Adu and Big Z and Brazil and obviously Nelly. And so we've had our share, and maybe we can be done. That would be ideal. It was like, oh yeah, we had like four guys injured at different times. It just all happened in the non-conference. So that if I had to pick, I'd pick that. So maybe. I do think that yes, you're right. Like we need the big guys to stay healthy. I mean, there's any injuries. Obviously, if Boogie got hurt, it would be horrific. That would hurt a ton. I mean, Boogie's. I don't even know what to say, dude. He finished this game with 24 points, 6 assists, zero turnovers. I mean, just doesn't turn the ball over even once, and so. You know, however good you thought Boogie was gonna be, like I don't know if you could. I mean, this had to have been like the top of your expectations, right?
yeah, I mean, we'll see. I hope he can keep doing it. I think I actually think he's being if Boogie Flan was playing for Kentucky, and it's kind of weird because yeah, I mean, I'm not saying he's not getting any national love. I mean, I think people are talking about him respectfully and stuff, but like as a freshman, as a skinny freshman, if he was doing this at Duke or, Kentucky or Kansas, he'd be one of the top five stars of college basketball for sure. You know what I mean? And because you just don't see freshman guards, like you said, it's not just the points, but it's the how much he has the ball and how few mistakes he makes. I
Yeah,
mean, when he has a bad game, it's that he misses five shots in the first half.
and
And
turns it over twice.
yeah, and it's like I mean, and that's the bad first half. And then, like I said, he usually still ends up with 18 points and 4 or 5 assists. I
I
mean,
mean, I
that's
mean, you're talking about. I mean, I mean, I know we haven't started SEC play, but neither has anyone else. And right now, he's second in the SEC in assists. I mean, that's really good, man. Like, I mean, for a guy that just turned 18 years old, and it's not like that's all he's doing. I mean, he's averaging 17 points a game while being second in the league in assists. You're like, that is hard to do. Uh,
Yeah, and to be fair too, I think that there's a version of a guy that gets 5 assists just because say he's on a team that has four perimeter shooters that are knocked down, and you're just going to hand the ball to guys and they're going to knock it down. But I think that's actually impressive and not to knock on anything that Arkansas is doing, but especially in the first part of the season, they weren't shooting that great. And we didn't have our best big man, or at least our best the other way that a guard gets a lot of good assists is dump down players where you're like throwing oops to them, which we've done a little bit of with Brazil and Thuro. But it's not the kind of team where most of the way we've been scoring in the first, we're starting to even it out now and get more the way I would like to see it. But in the first half, there was a lot of scoring where it was like with the first half of the, I guess I'm saying the first half of the season, it was somebody taking the ball and putting their head down and putting a shoulder into someone and making and driving to the basket,
We
whether it
scored,
was
yeah, we scored a lot and want to score a lot either in taking guys off the dribble, which is great, which is fine because we got a lot of guys that can do it, and so that's fine. And the other way we score, and especially the first fourth of the season, we scored a lot of points in transition. Well, you don't get a lot of assists when it's just dribble drive and getting steals and taking it down the other side for a layup. And somehow he's still racking up assists. And the other thing about Boogie, dude, that's so great is that um he plays basketball the right way because a dude like that, as talented as he is, and as easy as it is for him to get a shot. I mean, when you see Boogie like just cross a dude up or hard straight line drive and get to the elbow and pull up and you watch him do it and you realize that he can basically do that at will. I mean, he could do it anytime he wants to, right?
Mhm.
And or at least he can get in the lane whenever he wants to, and maybe he'd be throw up some crap or whatever. But if a dude that was out there just being like, I got to put up numbers, like I'm out here playing, it's about me. He'd be taking a lot more shots than he's taken, is what I'm saying. He's still, I mean, he took 16 shots in this game, made nine of them, but he has lots of games where he takes 7 shots, 8 shots, that kind of, and he has the ball in his hands all the time and can shoot it whenever he wants. I mean, I'm not saying that Cal wouldn't yank him out and bench him if he was doing that, but you know what I mean. Like he's
Mm.
not a guy. It's a rare thing for a guy to be that offensively gifted and and have just that like all that speed and all the things that he just naturally has. Um, a lot of guys that have that don't do some of the stuff that Boogie does, which is gets everyone else involved. I mean, he does look like he'd just as soon, you know, do the sweet dish for and get his guy a dunk as hit a shot, hit a tough shot himself. He looks like he's just as happy with that, which I love, which I mean, makes me love him.
Yeah, and the other thing I think that I feel good about is it,
And he plays
sometimes when you
and he
have
plays defense, by the way, too, which I love.
is I don't think this is why I'm more concerned about the down low than because Nelly has been the star point guard of a team, and Wagner can also be a point guard if he has to. I don't think um I don't think you can double like
Yeah,
if you just have a great guard that's like a great ball handler and distributor, a lot of times, or really just any star player, you just if I was a team, I'd go, we're going to harass him all the way up and down the court, make him get uncomfortable, make somebody else make plays. I'm fine with that. If you want to double
yeah,
Boogie, Wagner will just make a play. Go ahead, put two guys on Boogie. One, I don't think you're going to be able to take the ball from him. So I think he will get the pass to the other guards. And then I'll take those guys 4-on-3.
yeah,
You know what I mean? It'll mostly probably end up in an alley oop or a wide open three.
yeah,
So I think the structure of our team is good around him with other good ball handlers and smart guards where I don't think you're going to be able to. You're going to have to, if you're a, I'm thinking about what I would do if I was a coach. I'm gonna look at the possibility of trying to double him and harass him up and down the floor, but I think I'm gonna come to the conclusion my best defensive player, at the guards position or forward is gonna just have to try to slow him down as best they can by themselves
yeah,
because there's not it doesn't the makeup of that team isn't the way that you would want it if you I think they're too the other guys are too dangerous to try to do that to him. So
yeah,
I think he's going to be able to continue to do what he's doing, and he'll have a bad game or two. But I don't think you're going to see. Sometimes I'm worried about when you have early, like when you get down to business. Are you going to be able to do this? I think he's. I mean, he may come down a little bit as every week the competition is just I mean, not just every week, every other, every 2 days, you're playing some amazing basketball teams. And so his numbers, assists, and points may come down, and maybe his efficiency will come down slightly. But I don't think it's going to be one of those situations where he's going to hit a wall. And because one, we've seen him play good competition already, and he plays great. And like I said, the way the team's made up, if they decide to take him out of the game by over pursuing him, I think there's other guys that'll just have a field day.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that's right. I mean, yeah, because I mean, Wagner was the point guard at Kentucky last year, for most of the games. I mean, he was the starting point guard. And Nelly is used to having the ball in his hands all the time, And
Mhm.
so, yeah, you do have three guards out there that like any one of those guys is not only capable but comfortable with the ball in their hands. It's not weird to them. They're not having to like fill an emergency role that they're not ideally suited for or anything like that. They're all like, this is all stuff that we've done and we're totally comfortable with it. And then, I mean, the ball handling out on the floor, if you have the starting five that I assume that if you had everyone healthy that you would have, which would be Boogie, Nelly, DJ, and then Thero at the four, and Jonas at the five. Thero handles the ball well too.
Mhm.
I mean, like you see him in the break. I mean, he's going behind the back and all this. Like that's a. I mean, he's a four. He's a 3-4, right? I mean, he can play the three, he can play the four. And by the way, him playing the four isn't like, hey, he's kind of an undersized four. No, he's like the strongest dude on the team, but he can handle the ball in the open floor and stuff. And so you kind of have four guys that you're like that can have the ball on the perimeter and put it on the deck, and then it's fine. Like they're totally fine with it. So yeah, you're not. It's not the kind of situation where you're like, well, we'll just get the ball out of their primary ball handler's hand, and then we'll be all right. No, that ain't gonna
Yeah,
work.
you can imagine a team that's made up a lot differently that like where with these players where that would work, where if Boogie was the main point guard, and even if, say Thero was the, almost like your forward, and then you had two bigs and, or say you're playing Brazil and Jonas together, like that's a much scarier team. I mean, I know there's one, and maybe Knox is out there. It's like now I'm like, I don't want to see the ball not in Boogie's hands. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? If you're driving the ball out of his hands, you don't want Brazil having to be your playmaker. You know what I mean? Or obviously Adu unless he's down in the post. And you would get a lot more afraid of that. But yeah, the way it's structured right there, I mean, it's kind of crazy that those three guys are playing together all at this that's they're starting together. You know what I mean? Those seem
Mhm.
they could all sub for one another.
Yeah, and then you're bringing in guys. Um, Obviously you got like Big Z and Brazil that you're bringing in for Adu and and Thero. Um, and but then you're also you're bringing in Billy Richmond who can also handle the ball. He off the bench. Like, that's he's fine. He's fine with the ball in his hands. And even Kevin Knox is that's not Kevin Knox. That's his brother, Carter Knox. Um, he's like a big, strong wing and stuff. But I mean, he can. You're not like terrified when he has the ball. If for your three, like that's fine. And I know sometimes when we go small, he'll play the four too. But yeah, like the construction is good. But I mean, the big thing is that like I mean, Wagner and Fland are never. It's never the case that one of them's not on the floor. And once you and when you have Davis, Fland, and Wagner are gonna all like when they're healthy have all played 30 plus minutes every game. Like he leaves that lineup out there a lot. And I'm sure in SEC play, if you're in tight games, that's the way it's going to be. Um, Other things to talk about, dude, the team continues to shoot the ball pretty well. So, I mean, this was a concern going in. This was something that people were, excuse me, were concerned about. They had the two concerns: can they shoot it? Well, we go 45% from three, 10 to 22. It's like I like that we're only shooting 22. I love it that if we're gonna make 10 of them. Um, Fland,
Don't make this the NBA. All people are stopping watching that, and I think that's part of the reason. But
yeah,
I mean, I've like there's been some good NBA games on over the Christmas holiday and stuff. And man, dude, I mean, maybe it's just me, but I am just I can't really. It's kind of I haven't quite figured it out because it's not just the threes, but I'm just not into it as like I used to be. And when like I will take a good college football or basketball game or football game, but college, I'm just turning into a full college guy now.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
I mean, because the NFL is the same way. Like, I mean, I'll watch the playoffs in the NFL, but I'm way more stoked about watching Notre Dame, Georgia. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like I'm starting to become a college, sports fanatic, and the pros are, I don't know what it is, but they're just
It's just
starting to bore me.
it's yeah. NBA games are pretty boring, dude.
Hmm.
Um, I don't
I
know,
mean,
and it's that
43s a game is not uncommon for a team.
there's also just like an intensity that's not there. I don't know what it is. Like, I don't know. Like, I guess in college, these guys just have so much to play for, and
I mean, I also do think, to give credit to the NBA players, I think part of it's that they're too good. I mean, I know people say they don't play defense and stuff, but I mean, it's when they're handing the ball and every guy is
the
Thero
the the
times
rules
10, like,
the rules have just the guys are so good offensively, and then they've made the rules in the NBA such that it favors the offense so much that it's just like so much advantage on the offensive end that I think it starts to make it not interesting, where you're just like, not only are these guys like just ridiculously good on on offense, you've also like asked the defense to try to stop it with like one hand tied behind their back, and it's just like, well, it's not that fun to watch.
and at times, I mean, this is part of it, is they're so good at shooting now, and every team has not just one, but like several of these guys that will pull up from 40 feet, and now some of them are like Luke Doncic and these guys, like they can hit the most ridiculous circus shots, and they shoot shots that are like Harlem Globetrotter shots, and they make them, and they're shooting like half court floaters and making them and stuff, and it's a little bit like, almost, you can't really relate to it
Hmm.
in a weird way, like in the way that they can dunk, the way that they can throw alley-oops from any direction. It's all like college. It's like these guys are playing like, it's not that I can do any of these things that they're doing, but it still looks like the game that I play. The NBA
Yeah.
doesn't really even look like the game I play. Everybody's above the rim. Everybody can shoot from 45 feet. The spacing is nothing like when we go play ball at night. Like the spacing in college basketball looks kind of like when we go
Yeah.
play 5 on
Yeah.
5 up at P Ridge. You know what I mean? It's like, but in the NBA, it's like, I don't even know. Like nobody, the guard's dribbling the ball at half court in the corner, and that's where he's like setting it up from, because they have to guard him out there. You know what I mean? And like you're looking at the spacing, and it's like, what you're gonna every the screens start at half court, and you have to be watching the guy for a shot, and it does make it almost a little yeah, when there's, I mean, obviously too many games, and then also when they're when you know they're going to score 130 points, it feels like boring to watch the first half of the game for sure.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. Yeah. The baskets don't mean as much. Yeah. Yeah,
Well, even
it's
20-point leads don't mean anything. Every NBA game I watch, there's a 20-point flip-flop from like
yeah.
quarter to quarter. Sometimes it goes three ways. It's like one team's up by 18. Now the other team's up by, oh, they've tied it. Now they're up by 14. Now they're down by 14. It's like these, because guys will just come down and hit back to back threes and then a dunk, and then they call, I mean, it's anyway, we didn't mean to get off on that, but I'm really stoked about this college basketball season. And I do think part of it's probably being in Arkansas. Uh, I think it would be different if you grew up in a city where you had a sports team and your dad took you to that sports team.
Yeah.
Then the professional team feels more like a community team. Whereas in Arkansas, uh, college sports is the only thing that represents your community. So that's why, another reason it feels more like it's ours. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Even I mean, I'm a fan of the Bulls, but it's like, I don't live
yeah.
in Chicago. They don't represent my state, you know.
Yeah. That being said, yeah, I'm glad we only shooting 22 instead of 72 threes a game, which is good. But it is nice to see that. I mean, I'm not that worried about that because the 3-point percentage. I mean, so this game Boogie goes 5 of 8. Now he's not going to do that every game, but Wagner goes 2 of 5, and that is something he's doing just about every game. I think he is. You're 40% through the season and he's shooting 40% from three. And you're like, that seems like it's probably somewhat what he's going to do, And then Boogie's the same way. Like, seems like he's going to shoot about 40%. Nelly is going to shoot 40. Like, I mean, he's got a long track record and so you're like, if when people are like, the question is, can Arkansas shoot it? I'm like, well, I don't know. If you have three guys shooting 40% from three, then yeah, like that's plenty. And that doesn't even count Big Z, who hasn't done that lately, but is still well over 40% from three on the season. So you got guys that can shoot it, and we know that Brazil can shoot it. Knox is now, I mean, his season percentage is low because he like, started the season really bad from three, but the last couple of games he's been just on fire from behind the arc. So not worried about the shooting, which is nice. And then I need to see the retraction from Jeff Goodman and lots of other national media guys about Arkansas. The biggest problem is they don't have a point guard. You guys, I mean, I just don't. I've seen, and this still comes up where I just question their point guard play. Like, I don't know, what are you questioning? Like, I don't understand what you're talking about.
Sometimes I feel like those things are just literally, I mean, I hate to say this about national media guys because I'm sure to some degree we do this too. I mean, you're trying to talk, you don't want to sound stupid.
you can't watch every
Sometimes
you can't watch every game. Like, are you watching this team? What are you
well,
talking about?
this will happen to us when we're talking about the team that we know, and sometimes you head down a road with a and maybe you're too proud. I'm too proud to just go, I lost my train of thought. And so
Yeah,
you say something that's like a little generic or whatever. And I think on the national media, one person says a critique that's got some legitimacy. And maybe it even is a decent question early in the year because we don't know what Boogie Flan is going to do. Although it still seems crazy because you have two other guys that have run teams on there. But and then it just becomes like a talking point that you can throw out there. I don't even know if they know, you know what I mean? Like, or if they've even paid close attention. I don't know how a college basketball guy that's on a national stage. I mean, I watch a lot of college basketball, all the good games and some of the bad games, you know what I mean? But I can't, I mean, I'm bad with names and stuff, but like, I can't even remember like who anybody's point guard is or what their problems are really. I've watched Kentucky 3 times this year and like, I could hardly tell you one of their players' names. I mean, because I guess it doesn't stick in my head. Maybe if I cared more, like I only care about my team and I can barely remember my own guys. But yeah, that critique makes no sense, and to me, that sounds like something that somebody said early,
yeah,
and
yeah,
now
yeah,
it's just something they're regurgitating.
yeah. Because I would not just say like Arkansas. Yeah, Arkansas is an adequate point guard. I would say Arkansas is a very, very good point guard. Like, that is not their problem. Their problem is not having a
So
point
far,
guard.
if you want to say you're concerned about his age and his experience and how he'll handle the real pressure of a SEC road game when these
Hmm.
friggin' crazy people from Alabama and stuff are screaming at you from the student section and booing every time you touch the ball. Like if you want to say, well, we'll see how that freshman handles that. It's like, but it's definitely not like an obvious problem. I mean, I'm not saying yeah, maybe there's some teams out there like Kansas and stuff that have seasoned 3 year, 4 year point guards that you know exactly how they're going to be that feel a little bit more comfortable. But like, there's no indication that we have point guard problems.
No,
That's
no,
that's a crazy thing. The only thing,
no.
honestly, that the only, and I mean, I didn't say it because I think feel like we've said this every single game, but the only thing I think of it like they need to improve is do need to be better in the first half. They're still starting slow. They're still having a hard time getting in the flow in the first half. You know what I mean? They feel like they're really moving the ball better and up on their toes more in the second half. First half, they just start a little flat-footed, and that is going to be a problem when you're playing a team like Tennessee at home because if you don't play very well for even 10 minutes of the first half, you're going to find yourself down by 17 points
Yeah,
and you're not
yeah,
going to crawl back out of that hole in the second half. You know what I mean? So,
yeah,
I feel like that's the one thing I would say is they need to get in the flow quicker. And I don't know how you do that. But speaking of Tennessee,
yeah. Dude, we're gonna find out real quick about
well,
and here's the
it's
thing.
wins.
You don't have to, let me just tell you guys this. Like, Arkansas doesn't have to beat Tennessee. Like, to and then I know this is gonna be hard, but like, listen, you're going on the road to the number one ranked team in the country, even though um even though I don't think Tennessee's the best team in the country. I think Auburn is, but whatever. Um, Still, you're going to the number one ranked team in the country. Uh, you don't have to win that game to feel good about your team. You just like what Arkansas needs to do. No, I want to win that game, and if Arkansas does win that game, like it'll be great. Like, and I by the way, I don't think the Arkansas can't win that game. I think they can. I've watched Tennessee. I think we can beat them. Um, but they don't have to beat them for you to leave that game feeling good about where you're at. Like it's all going to depend on how you compete. The SEC is going to be like that. And when you go on the road against the upper half of the SEC, it's gonna be tough. Those are gonna be tough places to get wins. Uh, so this initial test is gonna be, what do you look like? How do you handle it? Like, do you compete? And you're able to watch that game and be like, well, if that game was at home or on a neutral floor, like, were we in it enough to say like, yeah, that might make the difference? And that's the kind of stuff you're going to be looking for. Like, definitely don't. If we lose to Tennessee by 9, don't think the sky's falling or anything. That's
Yeah,
fine.
I mean,
That's
there's a
fine.
version of losing by 20 that isn't, but there's a version of losing by 20 that isn't completely discouraging. And it's you play really well, they shoot a little better, they
Yeah,
are up by 8 at halftime, and they stretch that out in the other second half, but like you just get outscored slowly, versus there's a way where you just see that like you have no match for this team, and like they're just beating you down by 25, you know
yeah,
what I mean, and
yeah.
early like
That's
you
what you
can
want to.
there's two.
That's what you want to stay away from.
Yeah, if they're up by 25 in the first half, you're in trouble. And then if they only end up winning by 19, that's actually worse than if they win by 20, but it was just that they beat you by 10 in the first half, 10 in the second half, and really both teams played okay, and it was the home court advantage, just they were just a little better. But yeah, the thing you don't want the collapse where the crowd buries you and you get all jittery and no one can hit the broadside of a barn and they're turning you over and you're frustrated and your players are pointing in different directions. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the fall apart version. You want to be able to play your game at least. And like I said, it's a good opportunity. I mean, honestly, I prefer our position to Tennessee's position in a lot of ways, because like you said, we have a lot of ways to come out of this game, even with a loss, and not be any worse for it. Whereas there's no way for Tennessee to come out with a loss and not be worse. I mean, in the SEC, losses at home are going to be devastating to your season, because everybody's looking at the schedule going, there's no wins here. There's no guaranteed wins here. Every one of these games are a for sure possible loss all the way across. I mean,
Hmm.
and even the lower teams, I mean, they're not bad and they could beat you any night. And losing home games is going to be a bummer. It's
Yeah.
going to be a real bummer. And I mean, it'd be even more of a bummer if you're the number one team in the country and you're getting beat by a team that's barely in the top 25, and versus, that could go the other way and maybe it's not as bad. But this weekend or this Saturday is going to be when the world begins. It's going to get fun. There's going to be every night you're going to come home. There's going to be a big SEC matchup on pretty much.
Dude, and by the way, like, this game too is you want, if you're gonna get, if you have questions about Fland, well, you're about to find out, because that dude's about to get guarded by Ziegler, who's been in the SEC longer than I've been alive, I think. And you're talking about fifth, sixth year. I don't know how long he's been there. Uh, great defender, like lockdown defender, probably the best defensive guard in the SEC. I'm guessing he's pulling Boogie Flan's number, and dude. And so yeah, so you're gonna get it. Like, if Flan can look, I don't, dude, he doesn't have to like go all world beater, but like, if he can hold his own against Ziegler, then he can do it against anybody.
Yep. And before us, Kentucky plays before us, right?
Yeah, they play. Florida's going to Kentucky. Yeah.
So, and Kentucky really needs to win that game for the same reasons that we just stated. They can't afford to lose a game at home. Although, like I said,
Yeah,
Florida looks really, really freaking good.
I'd rather start the SEC season going to Tennessee than having Florida, which by the way is about to happen. But I mean, we got Florida real soon. But I'd rather do that than have Florida coming into Bud Walton. Like it's just because if you drop your opener on the road to the number one ranked team in the country, but you can look okay, it's all right. Like you don't want to lose. You don't want some team like Florida, who's really good, by the way, hasn't lost to anybody. They're undefeated coming into your gym. You got to win that game.
Mhm.
That's tough, man. That's tough.
I mean, like I said, not they're not. It's not quite this bad, but I mean, home court is almost every game is a must win. There's
It
just because obviously you hope to
it
steal some
might
games on the
yeah,
road,
it might not
but
be a
like,
must win yet. I mean, it could get that way once you get halfway through the schedule, but it's every home game is you saying we it's a really need to win because it puts you in the position where every time you lose a home game, because let's just be honest, like yes, I think there's going to be some 8 and 10 in the conference play teams that make the tournament, but if you're trying to make the tournament, like for sure, like I'm getting in if I can go 9-9, I'm getting in. I'm like, and so if you're doing that, you're like, dude, when we drop one at home, it just means that you're like, now we really have to go get one on the road, and that is so much harder.
and like you said, there's no bad losses in the SEC, but so one of the differentiating, you know, data points is home here. So it's, like I said, there's no shame in losing to anybody in the SEC, really. So losing
Really
at
no,
home
really no
is
shame in losing to them on the road.
no, that's what I mean. So losing to them having the home losses are going to be a differentiating factor at the end of the season, more than
Also,
likely, if you have teams that are close.
I don't know if people know this. You might not know this. So you know how like the committee takes all this stuff into consideration of like quad one, quad two, quad three wins. Okay, so basically like in the SEC, it's all quad one and quad two, but it's not split up the way that you think. So if you beat uh you could play a team that's that would be if you were like let's just say like if you go play Missouri. And I don't know if this is like exactly correct. I'm just using it as an example. So if you beat Missouri at Missouri, that's a quad one win. Whereas if you beat Missouri at home, it's a quad two win. It doesn't stay the same just because it's the same team. Where you beat them matters, and so yeah, you have like all these road opportunities for quad ones, but you don't. If you lose at home, that's like that's like a quad two loss, not necessarily a quad one win, and that's the other reason why you got to hold serve at home because that's how the metrics work, that's how the rankings work, and so yeah, if you're now there's some that are a quad one either way. Like I mean, like if you're Alabama or Tennessee, if you beat them at home, it's still quad one. If you beat them on the road, it's quad one. But the sort of middle of the pack stuff, it does make a difference because there is the difference between a quad one and a quad two. And if you're like, listen, I don't want any quad two losses, not that quad two losses are the end of the world, but I don't want any of those, then you can't lose at home.
Yep. And there's this season, of course, is going to constantly have the roller coaster, which I think it's going to be there is something special about the Kentucky fan base. I mean, a detractor would say they're myopic and delusionally out of their minds but a positive spin would be they're just the most emphatic, excited fan base, most demanding fan base that there is. And they like will notice it as a podcast that I mean, obviously we have like what 250 people that listen regularly, and we appreciate it very much. But this is basically just because this is the phone call that we'd be having anyway. But that fan base can juice the algorithm in a way like you will notice if we start to get buried this season, we will start to get like into algorithms of people that are just wanting to watch people suffer and pain, and it will be unpleasant.
We
And
get
the reverse is
some
also true.
some hate watchers going to happen.
Oh, for sure. And like I mean, if I will I don't know if this is true for sure, but I mean, like when once in a while when when we have a big game, like you see YouTube's algorithm people start commenting and we start getting, just delivered to more people. I mean, we're not doing anything. It's just, literally YouTube's algorithm. And you can get 3,000 views on a beating Kansas or whatever. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen if we beat Kentucky or something like that. Like I mean, it'll definitely be higher views. And if they beat us down,
It'd be even worse.
we're going to get like 10,000 views and it's going to be 9,000 of them are going to be Kentucky fans probably. And, but like I said, the other thing is true that like even this Saturday, I'm telling you, watch if somehow Florida beats Kentucky right before, and then if we were to somehow beat Tennessee, and these things are going to these opportunities are going to be available all throughout the season where they're playing at the same night as us or the night before, and it's going to go back and forth like that until one team sort of, and we may be even all season. I mean, this may go all the way up until the tournament, which is going to make it really fun. But the way that they are so, and I mean, to be fair, Hogs fans are too, but I think Kentucky fans are more. They are so desperate to be validated in this getting
Yeah.
rid of Calipari. I mean, how bad they wanted Oakland to come in there and beat him again and just being like, there you guys go, have some of that. But although I'm sure they didn't expect that,
By
but
the way, did you see that that Oakland coach has been there for 41 years?
yeah, I guess him and Calipari are actually friends. Like
Yeah,
they're
but did you see that guy? And I was like, what, did you start when you were 15? How old are you? So I looked him up. That dude's 69 years old. Dude, I pray to God.
you look that good when you're 70.
Yeah, just getting around. He's like rolling the sideline. I'm like, dude, you like what in the world? Like that don't look. I don't know, dude. Like
70 is the new 50, I guess.
I gotta start acting right. Like, that's like I that dude looks like he's getting around just as good as me.
I need to know how tall he is. Whenever I see a guy that can stand straight up and down with no stoop, when he's 70, I'm like, you got to be under 6 foot. This is
Yeah,
all
who
of the
knows?
6 foot
He
guys are.
he might be. He's probably played basketball. He's probably like 6'2" or something stupid, and like he just
Yeah, but he's a coach.
won.
That means he was a point guard. That means he was
Hmm,
5'11.
yeah,
But um, anyway, but so this weekend will be the first opportunity. I mean, like I said, there's a chance Kentucky holds serve, and I mean, the most likely scenario is Kentucky holds serve, and we lose in a close game and look decent, and then there's nobody gets to brag to anybody. But there's also always going to be that opportunity that if Kentucky goes in there and just beats the hell out of Florida somehow, and then
we
Tennessee
lose by
comes in and beat us
35.
down. I mean, we will, like I said, watch the algorithm. We will end up with 2,000 views, and it'll mostly be Kentucky people commenting. But I mean, that's said it's a fun opportunity. We're not going. I mean, this is going to be an interesting year that,
Yeah,
and maybe it'll persist for a little while, but we'll see.
yeah. All right, man. Well, let's leave it there. We'll be back on Saturday. Should get that one out. Sorry, this has been late and everything, but we should get that one out day of. Says we'll be watching
Be
it
in a
together.
weird closet of an Airbnb with our family running around.
Yeah, it might
So
be a little bit
it'd
different
be
kind of
interesting.
episode, but it'll at least be timely. So there's that. All right, bro. Well, I'll see you this weekend.
All right, dude. See ya.